Good morning. It is May the 6th, 2020 at almost 4:30 in the morning. You may be asking yourself, as I sort of am, like, why are you doing this? Yeah, but if you knew me, you wouldn't have to ask those questions. But I wanted to talk about, I got a nudge from Source. It has such a good sense of humor. I don't even really know where to begin with that. I'm doing this because I was like pushed to do this right now. So here I am. I wanted to talk about ether, stone, and the space in between. What do I mean by that? Well, the ether or the ethos is, to me, that which is unseen. I am a frequency gal, and I believe that everything is based on energy, frequency, and vibration, just like Tesla used to talk about. And we are really just consciousness in form in this piece of matter that we call a body. And there are other levels of consciousness from the very minute to the huge, all the way down to the atom. Each atom, and even smaller than that, but let's just start at the atom. Each atom is a vibrating, as I shake my phone, is a vibrating frequency that has a level of consciousness because it is intelligent enough to be able to seek out and find like fields. That's why atoms collect in a collective, which is, I like the use of that term, relative to energy, frequency, and vibration, simply because it identifies that collectives are at many levels, but they collect together to create cells, which collect together to create molecules, which collect together to create masses. And by masses, well, we can do anything from a stone to a heart to, the earth, the huge consciousness known as earth. Even our own bodies are made up of an infinite number of consciousnesses working collectively to function. That's why we don't think to breathe. That's why our heart beats no matter what. That's why our body knows how to digest food and things. There's a level of intelligence going on. Some may dispute that and say, well, it's more mechanical, in nature. But still, though, think about it. There have to be choices that are made. Do we extract this from the food that's just come through the body or that? How do we try to get through a blocked artery to continue to, shoot oxygen through the body, etc. Because as we all know, for example, oxygen, we need it in our brain to think well. That's why a lot of people who have Alzheimer's or, things like that, and I'm not highlighting only on Alzheimer's, but if you have a blockage, let's say in your arteries, it affects the amount of oxygen that gets to the brain, which affects your ability to think clearly. I know this because that was part of what was happening with my father decades ago. But anyway, if you look at consciousness, there are levels of consciousness that are unseen. If you believe in God, no matter what your religion or some higher source, for example, like a Buddhist believes in there is something higher than themselves, but they don't necessarily refer to it as a god. I believe they think of it more as a natural occurrence, something of nature. If you're a scientist, you know there's got to be something bigger than yourself simply because you are researching anything from the body to psychology to the cosmos, especially if you're a physicist or something like that. So there are levels of consciousness, functionality that are unseen, that exist, that continue to operate, that we don't really have a full capacity to understand. It's just the way it works. I mean, does an ant understand how a human thinks? Does a human understand how planets function and go in retrograde and things like that? No. So it's infinite out and infinite in. But then you've got stone, which I refer to as the matter itself. And then you have the space in between, which is where I think most people live. They accept, especially if they go to church, temple, mosque, they accept that there is a God, and therefore, if there is a God, there is a consciousness that is out of body. Even if they don't believe in, afterlife or anything else, if they think that you're just here, you're an atheist, you're here, you exist, and when you die, that's the end of it. Well, but yet they even have to marvel at the universe, marvel at body function, things like that. Even if they're not really cognizantly aware of it, consciously aware of it, subconsciously, they simply by existing as a human, they accept these principles. For example, we're breathing air, but we can't see it. And of course, scientists have come up with, over the centuries, ways to explain that. But what about before that? They were still breathing air and they didn't understand why. They didn't have to understand why. They didn't even think about it, ponder it, or anything. They just breathed and lived. So it's the same with us, but on a broader scale. And the more evolved we become as a species, the more these things that we currently view as wondrous or miraculous or impossible, we realize are not only possible, but they're probable and they're likely, and we've already accomplished them. So then in 100 years from now, just imagine the things that they will think are impossible that 100 years after that will become commonplace, like breathing. So that's the stone level, and then there's the space in between where, we exist. Most people exist. So when you're dealing with consciousness, I view it in those three elements: ether, ethos, stone, and the space in between. So I want to ask you, I know where I exist. I exist more in the ethos. I sometimes go what I would say out of body. Or even though I don't really like that phrase, which if you dream, think of being out of body as something like that. But take it the other way. I think that which is unseen, which is outside our ability to fully comprehend, comes to me. And when I have those experiences, like all these communications that I get all the time, just through, for example, I'm cracking up, and the reason I came to do this is because I was watching a video that I had watched yesterday, because when I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, I was nudged to watch it again. And I don't know why, but when I watched it again, I saw all kinds of messages for me that I hadn't seen last night. And I think that's because I had an experience yesterday, midday, that kind of threw me for a loop. And I had to go into what I'd say meditative state or a contemplative state for several hours to walk through the feelings that, that I got from it. And the questions it brought up in me about human nature and, the whys of things. I mean, we all do that, but I just do it more than most people because I have more time to do it. I'm sorry. It's just that my hair, not the way that it looks on screen, but the way that it feels, I'm having tingling. So it's like, sometimes those mean, yes, you're on the right track. Sometimes those mean, Barbara, fix your hair. So anyway, but the point is, I was nudged to watch this video again, and I did. And in the viewing, there were all these messages there for me. It's like the unseen talking to me. And as I would stop the video and go, oh my God, are you really saying ABC? And I would then pull out some tarot cards, which is just one method of divination that I utilize to connect. And I was getting responses to these, which were making me laugh. That which is unseen, at least there's lots of levels. It depends again on what frequency are you vibing at. If your frequency is more etheric, you're connecting with a different level of consciousness than if you are really depressed or down or are so grounded in the reality existence that you wake up and live every day. You are connecting to a different level of frequency. But whatever I connect to cracks me up, has the best sense of humor. Can be serious when I want to be serious, but is very lighthearted all the time and finds ways to crack me up. So, sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I will get this knowing usually from something I'm seeing. Because again, it's another, think of it as like watching television, and if you are the writer or the programmer or the what do you call it, the advertiser, you're trying to send certain messages, so you use visuals to do that. Well, if you are God or something of a higher consciousness level that is out of body, that is not in a physical form of some kind, outside this construct that we refer to as reality, you don't think you're going to use visuals, and you don't think that you can massage and manifest in the moments of now. I mean, it's like an artist. You can use an eraser. You can use Photoshop and add another layer, take a layer away. It's the same concept, just on an unseen level. So anyway, I get these messages, so as I'm walking and stuff, and all of a sudden I'm laughing in public. I just, to myself, and I try not to show it, but I'm just cracking up on the inside because they're making me laugh. So what's the point of this? Just to open your awareness to the possibility that if you are more of a stone, maybe you might want to step into the space in between and slowly integrate yourself to the possibilities of what else might be out there. And if you're psychic or and all these different things are going through my head. If you are a paganistic, because pagans don't have to be negative. There's also something called white magic. If you are just simply an open vessel, a curious person, if you're creative in any way, if you're an artist of any kind, a writer, a sculptress, a photographer, if you like to do hair or nails, or if you like to dress really well as a man even, those are all creativities. If you are a creative being, open up a little bit more and just see what's out there, because the ethos is a really interesting vibration to connect to. That's it. I hope I got out whatever it was that they wanted me to share at 4:40 now, probably in the morning. Half awake. I'm going to stop there before I go any further. I hope this made you laugh. Have a wonderful day. Take care.